Wago. Today we're going to be doing some songwriting. The particular song that we've chosen is called Kahakai One Ele Ele. Writing these songs gives me an opportunity to chart music, write out chord charts, hand them to people, and then play music, yada yada. I hope these series make it possible for you to do the same. So if you got a couple chords in your head, what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the other screen today and play a little ukulele, because all the songs I'm doing in this series are actually aimed at doing a ukulele book. So without further ado, let's listen to the song. I threw it up on this YouTube channel. Again, you can check out all these underneath the hashtag Wago backing chart. There's several hundred, there will be several thousand. They're just different than any backing chart you've probably ever seen. I hope you enjoy it. Listen to this, get your instrument out, and be prepared to answer and ask questions if we had them. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing theory. So if you really like music theory, I think tomorrow's explanation or idea is extended chords. What happens after you have just a triad, 1, 3, and 5, so on and so forth. Let's take a gander at this song. Tell me what you think, and let's look at it through the eyes of music analysis. that song kind of has legs. I do like some of the chord choices that were there. It didn't put a lot of extended chords. Stuff besides that intro, that E minor 7 and the E minor 9, not really anything else. Tell you what, if you're watching this and you want to learn how to chart music, this is the channel for you. I try to go through detailed ways of listening to a song, like that one, and then putting it on a piece of paper and or a program that you can print out, handwrite, and give it to somebody so they know what's going on. And if they don't know how to do it, teach them what I'm teaching you, and then the whole world knows how to read charts. And music, believe it or not, becomes just a little bit more comprehensive and a little bit more fun. All right. First thing I want to do when I start a song is I want to know if there's an intro. And this one there is. I'm going to put an intro box. Let everybody know. Here's where we're starting. Second thing I want to do is figure out what key we're in. Now, we went through the whole thing. There was a lot of E minor. I heard some G majors in there. So, ideally, if you have E minor and you have a G major, chances are you're in the key of D major, you're in the key of G major, or you're having some sort of really close chord called a family chord. So what I want to do is just draw the circle fifths if you're at home, and if you've never done this before, do this right now with me. Here we go. Circle, ta-da, C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. These are all the key signatures that have sharps. So if you're a guitar player and you're learning how to go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and you are a oud player and you want to learn how to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, you can learn how to play modes just from knowing one scale, the major scale. C major has no sharps and flats, so it's neutral. When we go this way, we have flats. This is diminishing, this is augmenting. All these chords get a little bit darker and mysterious in nature, further away from the tonal point of concert C that we go. This is called the circle of fifths when we go this way. Yeah, and this one's called the circle of fourths. As you can see, if you count up from the prime, C, D, E, F, you get your 4 away. Now that's a perfect fourth, but that's how the circle of fourths works. When you go this way, even G to C, D to G, on your own instrument, you will have fret recognition or placement recognition of where your fingers are. Same thing on piano. Some people call it the landmark series on sight reading, but you will definitely know what a major third or a minor third looks like just by viewing it on the staff. So for today's key, even though we can write out all these flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, our D flat is an enharmonic to C sharp, meaning when we go C and then up a half step, we get a C sharp. However, if we're playing a D and then we go downward, that D flat is the same note as the C sharp. So a couple of these have that. These are them. Those are these. C flat is a B, G flat, F sharp, stuff like that. I mean, you could keep going and go C, D, E, F. Well, F flat is an E. F, G, A, B. B double flat is an A. When you keep going around here, you'll see that E double flat is a D. We don't so much use all of those, but knowing that we have natural notes, which is what every note is, a flat and then a double flat allows us to see that our notes, when chosen, can be in 5 states of being. And this talks about how to just go through the center of where your family chords are. So that's what I'm going to leave us on right here and then jump back into chart writing. This one, I believe, is in the key of G. We'll cross that bridge. But here's our 1, our dominant. Here's our 4, our subdominant, and our 5, the dominant. All the notes and chords are pulled towards the D and then want to go back to the 1. The next thing we're going to do is see our minor 2. We've got our relative minor, a whole shaka away from the G. So F is D, C is A, G is E, D is B, so on and so forth. You can always tell that A flat major has an F minor as its minor 6. And then lastly, when we go here to the G, when we go through this last one being the minor third, our 7th is right here. So what I like to do is block off these majors, squiggly line over these minors, why not? And then a circle around the diminished. Everything else on this circle for me when trying to think about what key I'm in is irrelevant. So right here, what I'd like to do is just show how the placement allows us to refer back to it. Again, the 1 chord major, 2 chord minor, 3 chord minor, 4 chord major, 5 chord major, 6 chord minor, and then the 7th being super, super, super special. It has a stacking of minor third on a minor third. And if you have a question for that, maybe check out one of these videos that we do on the Tuesday, which talks about music theory. By doing so, you'll learn how to count with your fingers at first, draw the circle of fifths, secondly, and then how to imagine things on your own instrument. And if you're doing this by voice, I have a couple voice lessons out there that allow you to hear intervals. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. So you can get some really cool effects when you're singing by knowing a few scales and combining concepts. So that's on Tuesdays. Ask questions as well. Tomorrow we're going to talk about extended chords. What happens after you just play C, E, and G? What's a C, E, G, and an A? What happens when you add a 9 on top of that? All right. So what we'd like to do right now is see that this is our key. We're going to write our prime up here. This is our G. It's the foundation with my dead old pen. It's all right. I got another one up here. G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and then F sharp diminished, as there is 1 sharp in the key of G major and E minor. That should get us up to speed on music theory, relativity, relative to the key that we're in right now. Gonna leave this up for just a second so we can see it. We're gonna throw up our first double bar. That means that we're starting the song. Second thing we want to do is see what key we're in. This is in common time, even though in this one it's not written. Anytime you do not see a key signature, that means you are playing in 4/4. That means there are 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note will receive the beat. So when we go to our first measure, we know that our E minor 9 spans for these 2 measures. Now, I could use a percent or write the thing again if it's the same chord. And then eventually we go to an E minor 11, and then we go to an E minor 9 again. So I can't just do a repeat because there is a fluctuation here. This first bar line actually repeats, so I'm going to put brackets on it. You don't have to do the brackets, but you most definitely are going to need these 2 dots. And then rather than write this again, I'm just going to put 4 times. So we know to do this whole adventure 4 times. Now, here's where it gets really fun, groovy, awesome. What I want to do is not use just these chords right here. What I want to do is put them in the version of the Roman numerals that you see above the letters. Therefore, if we're playing in a key, the key is G, and the song has a feeling of, let's say we'll just do the intro here, our E minor 9, so we've got this. Then it goes to an 11. It goes back. If I didn't want to play that in the key of G or E, I would have to have a separate chart that has like A minor 9 to an A minor 11 and then back to an A minor 9. Why write multiple charts when you could just put it in Roman numerals and then have those Roman numerals represent the same things that you were doing? So in this case, the E is not the 1, it's not the 2, it's the minor 6. So we put it as such. Since this is a minor and it has a 6 on there, you can do a multitude of different things here. A lot of charts will just put this, and then they'll put like a cheat down here, like E minor 9. Put a 9 right here. The reason why this works in chord charts and not like Roman numeral analysis is because we're not really talking about any inversions. If you saw something that had like VI and a 6, or a 6/4, or you saw VI 7, we would be looking at doing different inversions, which just means we have some notes that are in the triad, and rather than having the root on the bass, the root goes somewhere else. And then you have the third. That's the first inversion. When you put the 5th of the key on the bass, so in the key of E minor, E, G, and B, if you made it B, E, G, that would be a secondary inversion. If you add a extended note, that note, if it was to be played as the bottom note, would be the 3rd note after the root or the prime. Therefore, it would be called the 3rd inversion, so on and so forth. So, what I like to do is just go through here, look at these cards. Again, just going to put a little percent. This one is our 6th chord, but played as an 11. And then we have the 9 again. This tells me to play those chords in sequence. The next thing we go to here is going to be our A. And our A line is actually kind of curious here. It has 4/4, so there's no need to rewrite the tempo, but it definitely needs a double bar to show that it's the beginning of the measure. Here we've got a G, which is our root, or our prime, our foundation. It does make sense to line these up, so sometimes I'll just put my bars and draw a straight line all the way down, like so. And then I would go back and erase just a small portion. Now this is writing on a bigger whiteboard or session. If you're leading a group, this is a great way to do it on a chalkboard or a big old whiteboard. And then as far as our notes and notation, you could always go back and change these, which is why I like to keep them up on something, take a picture. You could even change it in your own mind if you want while you're playing. We have a minor 2 right after our 1, so we've got a 1-2 progression already. Next one is going to be our 5. So this goes to a 5 dominant. Right here, what we're doing is we're sharing the space between the two. The next thing we could do is go to a G. It's our 1 chord again. You can put these in the beginning or in the middle. It doesn't really matter, but do you see how there are 2 in here? That means that in a beat of 4/4, they're both going to receive 2 beats. Cool, huh? The next thing we do is go back to the next line. We're going to go to our 1 again, that prime. We found our source. Now, instead of going to the minor 2, we're going to go to the minor 6. So it still has a minor tonality to it, which is good, at least through the eyes of just viewing this for the first time. A 1-5 means 4, if you're not familiar. 5 minus 1. The other way is 5 plus 1, 6. So we, again, have 2 chords sharing here, except we're going to have the 4 card, and then we're going to have the 5 dominant already established. So that's a quick movement. We're going from the subdominant to the dominant as a secondary dominant, which is great. It should go into the 1, and when we look at it, faux show, it does. We go to the 1 chord. Now, this is also repeated, and this is the A section. Nice. So I like to put my brackets, makes it look a little bit easier that it's all contained for me. When you go and see these as being different sections, the next thing that you would see here is that there is a marker above this CD that says 1. So this, when you repeat it, is the first time you end it. And then the second time you end it, you go down to the second ending. Well, this second ending ends, sorry, it's full phrases. The second ending ends on an A minor, which is our minor 2. And then it goes to our 5 chord. Double bar means that it ends this passage, and then we move on to another one. So this next passage here is going to be called the B. Thusly, I write the B section. So what we've established here is the first part, which goes on its own. It, in Western air, we generally refer to as the verse, or the intro verse. Sometimes they're doubled, so we call it AA. There's an intro with some instrumentation. Then it goes to some sort of verse that tries to stay within the diatonic 7 in the beginning when songwriting, and then ventures away from there in that circle of fifths of how these chords relate to each other in a family. Just so happens when you play all the family chords here, these 3 share many of these chords. Like there's an A minor and G is the 2. Well, the A is a major in D, but in C it's an A minor. In E, this is a minor. It's a minor in here and a minor in here. So E is a great relative for all 3 of those majors. B minor's in the key of D, it's in the key of G, and it could be considered in the key of C if you went outside of C's diatonic. Long story short, these are all theory concepts, but C has a B as a diminished, B, D, F. It builds this big old tension tone. It wants that resolution. Whenever you have a B flat, it still resolves, but there's a little less tension built. And along the way, if you were to make that B major a B minor, musically you can make it work, as B major and B minor are something called a common tone. They basically are chords that have the same diatonic notes but share one note of difference, which alters the 3, 6, and 7. Now, if any of that didn't make sense, and I wish it did, come here on Tuesday, 9 to 10, or watch the videos that are in the playlist. You'll enjoy them if you dig this thing right here. So, if you're following along, we've written out our A. We're going to write out our B really quick right here. Let me see if I can tilt that down. Can we see if there's anybody out there watching? Let's see here. B minor. Ooh, we have a we have an occurrence of a minor third. It means we haven't seen one thusly. Nice. There's our minor third. And it looks as if our minor third is sharing a space. So I'm going to move this on over, and it's sharing it with the 4 chord. So we're going to have a B minor, C major, and then we're going to go to the 1 chord, the 5 chord. So G, D, we have a 3 again. It does go to the 4 again. So we've got an established theme going. I hope there's some melody we could derive over the top of this. And then back to the 1. The 1 closes out that measure, but we're not done yet because there's still another passage here, or phrasing. We've got a minor third again. It's going to go to the 4, so this is definitely a theme. We then have a 5 to a 4, which is a quick movement and a switch betwixt the 2. Wonder if that was a oopsie or if it actually makes sense. Seems as if the 1 stays right here and then goes to the 2, so that feels reminiscent of this. And then ends on a 5 and then a 5 dominant. Cool. That's the end of this passage, and underneath this, it has a DS al first ending. Now, if you don't know what the dal signo is, it's great. DSAL and then first. Just gonna abbreviate it that way. What this means is when you have the sign, dal signo, you're gonna take it via the first ending. So when we see this sign, we're going to go all the way up to right here, and then we're going to go down via first ending, which means we're going to go through the whole intro 4 times, play through the A section. We're going to go through this one more time, and rather than taking the first exit, we're going to take the second exit. It's going to end there and go to the B section, which has more of a complicated rhythm, same kind of thing we were doing right now. And then it moves through doing it every measure until the last. So there's a little respite in rhythm. Then it does the same pattern and then has it extended. And that D7 goes right back to a G. So that works with the major harmonic progression, which is great. And in a nutshell, once you learn your family chords, here's what the major harmonic progression would do for us. It would use our chords and have kind of like a feeling that works for everything. It's like a catch-22. You can do it, you don't have to. If you want to, it changes the way that the chords feel just a little bit. But what you'll notice is the majority of music, when it's played, has these movements. Like a lot. Too much, actually. So being able to recognize these notes as having like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then, oh, what the fuck happened to 6? Oh, my bad. That's why. 6 is right now. So, being able to go through these notes and chords allows us to kind of see, you don't have to go to certain chords all the time. You could do like little caveats that help us move from one place to the other. You could also do like that to here. So when you see yourself doing like a Beatles song, when I find myself in times of troubles, yabba dabba doo comes to me, all those chords will follow this progression. Now the beautiful thing about it is, their Beatles wrote so much music that they kind of learned the rules and broke them. So that's the ability of any arranger or composer to like get really good at crafting your own skill, and then being able to explore that, breaking a couple foundational rules. And if you don't know that feeling, check out Zubin Mehta or Frank Zappa or Captain Beefheart or Silver Apples or Black Diamond Heavies, or, you know, there's just a lot of music out there. All right, so if we can see this down here, we're going to take this all the way back up. I say at this point we should play a little bit of this song and have some fun with it. Let's go check out the ukulele over here. I don't know how to work this. There we go. So, if we have that song, you can see almost all of it. Yeah, that's in it. Let's see here. We could even slow it down just a little bit so it's not as hard to go through the first time. we have our E minor 9. So let's set ourselves up for success. Ooh. I like it. Maybe a sus there. Feeling sus chords there. Right back up the G. The song feels too long and there's no verse. You don't want to write another verse. You could even omit that and do the decile signo to the second ending, and it would omit this all. I think it has wings. So one of the really cool ideas that we could try out is once you see a little bit of the music unfolding is start humming along with it. Using this major harmonic progression concept. I hope you got it. I'm going to move it just a little so you can see the screen a little bit more. Once you got that progression down pat and you see it in your mind's eye, then it's time to start like toying around with the melodies. Over the top of this with that E minor 9, if you're playing the ukulele with me, we're playing on the 7th fret, double bubble bar on the high G or low G if you have it, and then on the E string, both at the 7, and then put a pinky out there on your 9, and then if want, you can mute that string you're not playing, the C there, or maybe just put your finger, you can throw here. It's going to play a minor over the top of it. The idea is you're playing an extension of your chords like an F minor. Well, when you play an F minor and you move it up, it's an, that's an F sharp minor or a D major 7. When you move it up, you would have a G minor. You would then have an A flat A, B flat B. So when moving these notes up, they have relative names. So that A and B chord that you already know, you can move all the way around the fretboard. Cool, eh? So the beginning in there had some fun swag, boom. Had it for 2 measures, and then down to an 11 chord. Nice and open. Not sure if I want to have these move or change. I like the way it feels doing it both of them. So that's an idea. Maybe you could just have both chords playing around. You don't have to stay really focused on one, unless the melody that you're going to create needs to have that in there. And then when it goes to the G, we have G major to a minor 2nd. Well, here's the fun thing. Even though you're playing the 1 chord, maybe you can play an A in root position, go to an inversion, move that all the way up around the fretboard if you want. Now, all of these are just triads, but when we move them from one quadrant to another, you can use those notes as tone leading, chord leading. You could use two notes up the triad. It's known as a dyad or a harmony. And if you use those in any key, you can play some pretty cool movements in between here. To be able to know your chords and where you're going, but the idea about using the system of using one finger, one fret, and then being able to move your fingers around the fretboard depending on where they lie over those four is a really interesting concept. It gets you to be able to play like a G major and know how to play a G major in a second fingering, and then be able to scoot it anywhere, bar, and play essentially any chord without having that pesky G ringing out over the whole thing. This works with guitar, works with actually any stringed instrument. I digress. The next time that we were going through here, I found that I didn't really like playing the flip-flop here from the B minor, C major, I like the G, then to the D. I like the B minor, then the C major, maybe a G sus, then to G. I don't know. B minor, then a C major. I don't like playing the D, then the G. By holding out these two G's here, it seems kind of static and boring. Maybe at this point, musically, if there are multiple instruments playing, all of the rhythm and all of the instrumentation can focus and do maybe some sort of melodic fill at that point. So you would have something cool like it doesn't make that prime chord, the root chord back to back seem so boring in my mind. Now, again, everything I'm saying is just one person's opinion on how music works and how it should flow together. It's my own personal blah, blah, blah. But going through the process of watching somebody in their creative phase helps other people in theirs. I've seen other people do this in their own head, and I've asked, hey, what are you doing right there when you knew how to do what is that? And not knowing how to explain it is a real bummer. And a lot of the times, the first 10 years of playing is like meeting people are like, you put a finger here, you do this and that. But only very rarely do you hear somebody say, it is a minor second or a small half step that goes in turn like a hammer-on. And you keep one finger stationary up on the third. So when you play through the note, you get like a bluesy bebop Dorian feel where you have a half step going into the natural flat 3 into a natural 3. Very cool. So when doing stuff like this, I find it really cool to have a vocabulary to go through the process of seeing how to write out a major or minor harmonic progression, put it right next to my song while I'm writing it, and then being able to try and go through the phases of seeing the notes in a melody that change and they get adapted to find out what's going on with the melody. And then what I've also found is the more you write, the better you get at this. Melodies will start to arise. All right, we're at the ending section here. This C section is going to have a couple different cool things. You're going to be playing all the way through, and it's longer. So we're going to put a C right here. Hope that doesn't weird us out. Hope the bulge don't bum you out. Let me get a good look. Gonna pull it right out. Gonna do it right out. I'll be right out. Oh, that's really weird. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4 progression. That's not often seen in music unless it's always repeated over and 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 over. So this one does have the same amount of measures, although it has extended phrasing. So what I want to do right here is write it all out in one fell swoop. For me, here's what it would look like. Gonna keep going through with the 1. We then have a minor 6, changes the tonality, so it is reminiscent of this, right? Coolness. And then we're gonna have a C, which is our 4 chord. Then we're gonna go to our 5 chord, which again is reminiscent of what we did over here that I didn't like, but we altered it rhythmically. And then we're having a 1 to a 6 chord sharing the melody. We're gonna have a 4 to a 5 chord sharing the melody here. So 2 beats for each. Next, a 1 and a 6. So right here we have reoccurring themes all over the place, which might make sense why rhythmically this is extended just a little bit. Then the last line should be a 4 chord, and then a 5 chord, and then extra measure. Interesting. Usually you have symmetrical measures. When you do writing out like this, generally you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 9, 2, 3, 4, 10, 2, 11, 2, 3, 4, 12, 2, 3, 4, 13, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of like a little mini bridge or an extra added rhythm or metric. It throws off the balance. Very interesting that was done. And then this last thing is going to be a D section. So we're going to end this whole section. We're going to put our D right here to represent the outro, essentially. And then we're going to draw our double bar. And believe it or not, this one's just going to be the same as our intro. So there's 2 things. You could either put the bar down here and put same as the intro, or you could go to here and put DC a la fine. And I know that this isn't on the chart, but I'm running out of room here. So what I want to do is just say the hell with the D. I'm going to put the intro and the D right here. I'm going to have the G right here and put D, C, a fine. When I go up here, I'm going to put fine right there. And what that means is when I play through this whole thing, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, go through this twice, second time, take the second exit, hit the B section, which is considered the chorus, generally to the verse. So when you have a song, generally you've got an A section and then a B section. What I've done here is gone from the DS al coda, which is DS, meaning dal segno, the sign. You're going to take the sign, which is this one, premia, and you're going to take that all the way through the first ending. Now, if you don't like that first ending and don't want to write another verse, you can put DSL2, DSL3, but you have to have endings. This is my first bar that does something. This is my second one. There is no third ending in here, so you would have to create one if you wanted it to go to here, play through here, and then skip all this nonsense. Since this double beams here, it ends the measure, so you wouldn't essentially be able to do that really. Some programs will do it for you, but it's weird. All right, after you go through here, do it twice. We're going to hit this B section again because it does not say to skip it and go to the C. When we go to the C section up here, we're going to play through our chords again and take note that a lot of these are recurring themes. Once getting down through this, no repeats, just one time, we're going to take the DC al fine, which means we're going to go directly up here to the coda and follow this all the way through. The cabo is the top of the tune, and then the bum, we're going to take it all the way through. All right, here's the song. Let's go see what it sounds like on the ook. Wonder if I could back this up so you can still see it in all of its glory. Guess not. My bad. Well, is it more important to see the chord chart or is it more important to see me? Interesting. Maybe I could play the chord so you could see the fingers over here. You could hear it. Can everybody see that? If I were to go back over this, could I read it? Yeah, I think so. So we've got our intro, which is our E minor 9. I found like a rhythm for it. I think more like a jazz feeling, like the program put out there. And also with the programs that you write with, you don't always have to stay with the same rhythm. This one is actually supposed to be a little bit slower and maybe even finger picked. This one is a song written about the black sand beaches in South Point and the shore and how just absolutely gorgeous they are. Really taken back by it. But something like maybe along the lines of the C section. Hope you had a fun time playing along. If there's nobody out there that has any questions about anything that's been going on here, chord construction, how to put notes together, now's for you to take your own and then put it on a piece of paper. A couple of the important things that we did today while defining what the chords were of the song was to realize we wrote this in the key of G, meaning it didn't have to be in the key of G. We could have taken that E minor and gone down. Well, if we're in the key of D, or in the key of G major, and we go from an E, E flat, and then we have this note, we are playing a D minor. We're now in the key of D minor or F major. So this whole thing could have been played in a different key. And the idea is sometimes you write a song and you don't have an instrument with you and you're not writing for a specific instrument. And then when you get on the instrument, it's difficult to play some of the chords. Sometimes you can use a capo. Sometimes the melodies are kind of a little detached and you don't know why. It just feels like there are sometimes phrasings that use open notes and sometimes phrasings that do not use open notes. One of the best ways I can say or explain this is when you're trying to play through different types of chords and songs, use different chords and songs to find notes and melodies that would arise. So in this key with that E minor 9, really getting down with those top notes, you can use all the notes that are in E minor, the E, the B, the G, and the E, regardless of what instrument you're on. And then you can try to find patterns in between those. So if you can see like an E minor, G augmented, G major, and then moving this down, you wouldn't necessarily call this a G augmented then, would you? You would have just your note, which is your E, moving down. So you would be having a minor with a minor major, and then you'd have a minor with a minor 7, then a 6, and then a flat 6, and then a 5, and then a flat 5, then a 4. You can go through all the different intervals of a chromatic scale, and then associate that to your diatonic scale, the solfege, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that all music is basically analyzed from. So, going through here, a lot of the things I found were rhythmic changes that I didn't really like, and then we made an adaptation right here. So what I would do in my chart, I would make this a different color right here, or I would circle it or make note of it in the chart. Generally, if you have a good idea in some chart and you have it physically there, even if you don't write it down, the next time you play that chart, you will remember that yourself, and then you can show other people. If others have ideas, now they have a physical piece of paper to write down their ideas, and when you get back together, sometimes having a chart jargons that memory and gets us remembering what melody we might have done. Remember, all of these are inside of a category called Wago backing charts. They're basically like any other chart, except for they don't just stay diatonically. There are some different rhythms rather than just common time and 4/time. And then there's always the option to play and change all these to different keys and then change them to different rhythms depending on the time signature and the phrasings. Other than that, there are many, many, many more things that we could go over here today, but unfortunately, we're out of time. If you dig this and like it, please subscribe. Put something cool in the comments section. Hey, gee golly whiz, if you made it all the way to the end of this, maybe put like a triple thumbs up in the comment section. That'd be really groovy so I can tell. I'll give you a shout out. Other than that, on Tuesdays, answer a lot of these theory questions and go through the process of answering things that relate to subjects. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about extended chords. What does that mean? Extended chords are a triad. All of these are actually triads. The chords we played, like the G major, consists of a G, B, and a D. The A minor after the G major consists of a C, and an E, then a B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F, A. And then going through the process of seeing these relative majors and minors, you can really, really unlock the fretboard and or the piano and or your voice just by practicing for 5 minutes a day doing some simple routines. Singing or playing scales, dissecting them, everything through the eyes of the major, and then getting super familiar with how to say your triads. Tomorrow's explanation, we'll talk about what happens when you add another chord, like that 9. And then being able to hear a chord like a G major and go, well, what is this? Many people don't ever see an augmented, which is a sharp 5. We could also explain chords through the eyes of the minor. So if we played like a G minor and we have a C minor and a D minor, we are in the key of B flat. And we can explain how playing B flat, C minor, D minor, E flat major, all the different chords we had that go through the process of hearing the one, the relative tonic, and then being able to do all the chords in between them. Learning these things, concepts, names, vocabulary, sometimes leads to writing some pretty cool things. And if nothing else, if you've been listening to music your whole life and you've always wondered what's going on in the music, this is a great foundation. I'm here for you to answer any of your questions on Tuesday. I'd hope to see you. Other than that, have a super, super, super awesome day. Aloha.